I said just before I started tonight, I said, watch that fall tonight. Hello, everyone out there. Hello, friends. Hello, family. Hi, mom. And what did I say? Hi, Nina. I heard you've been watching. Hi, everybody. You know, I can't call all of you out, but I just wanted to say hi to Nina. I haven't seen you in so long. Welcome to Spirituality Night Live. My name is Melvin Brown, and I am bringing you a live show of Spirituality Night Live. What is Spirituality Night Live? Well, my favorite conversation, if you know anything about me, is to talk spiritual on some level. I've been seeking God, practicing God ways all my life and trying to figure it out. And as I have been going through it, just like there are many cars on the road, many people have different ideas of what it's like to get to heaven. I remember in my younger days thinking, taking on the faith of Christianity, Islam, Buddhism is like driving different cars, but we're all going to the same place. So I thought I'd have a conversation with some of my favorite people or people that I didn't know that were interesting, that had other views on spirituality, and just bring it all live to you. So here we are. I'm at the home of Unity of Fredericksburg, where they understand and know about the one God, the one way. If you know anything about Unity, I think it would be a wonderful place to check out and learn more about God, the All. Um, Tonight, I have a very special guest, a good, awesome person that I had a long conversation with and thought, "Man, how am I going to do this all again? Because this was great, man." So I can't wait to introduce you to Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson. But before I do that, I would like to make sure that I thank everybody who has helped me. Thank you. Thank you, Mark Torgensen, for music. That was his lovely music as we were coming in. Again, thank you, Unity of Fredericksburg. Thank you, Amy, for being here, putting this and helping me do this together. Thank you to my people all over the place, like Tony and all. Thank you all very much. Um, I know that you're probably going to have some questions. I heard some feedback from many people. They were telling me that they liked it. It was good, but they wanted to have some interaction. And my original vision was to have interaction. But how do you do that on this kind of platform? So it's kind of tricky, but if you could wait, maybe put some questions up, and at the end of the discussion, we can talk a little bit more about them. Let's see, did I cover everything? My vision, interactive discussions. Okay. Tonight, I really like tonight because we're going to be talking about this. Can you see that there? This, the yin and yang. What does it really mean? What is it about? If you look at my logo, you'll see this behind it with the tree of life on top of it, where you see the tree and the branches going up, but you also see the roots going down. And this is something that's not really talked about in today's culture of understanding God, really. But it's just important to go down into the roots to be here on the earth as much as it is to reach up to the higher. So, after having a great conversation with Reverend Dr. Raymond Anderson, he seems to be right on and can probably articulate it much better than I can. So, yeah, let's bring him on in, please. Hey.
Hello, hello, hello. What's up?
So, look, when he first came on, we went into the green room. He had on his Superman shirt. And I said, well, I should have had my Spider-Man. So he
Uh-huh.
had to just one up me. But look how he got that shirt filled out, though. This man is a grandfather of 5 children. Look at him. I mean, you got it, bro. You got it.
I'm on it. I do
Thank
my
you for
best. I
coming
do my
to the
best.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So what's
So,
up?
how you been doing? What's been going on with you?
Well, I don't know if you heard, but there's this thing in the United States called a pandemic. Um, yeah.
Right.
So they're very interesting times that we are in, but the thing with consciousness is whatever's going on the outside gives us an opportunity to go within and figure out, so what do I need to do on the inside? So I'm doing my work. You know, when stuff shows up, I'm doing my work. So all in all, I'm doing very well.
Fantastic.
And you?
And you are also doing that physical work. I saw some of your
Oh.
live shows. Yeah, you've been doing
Yeah, Tracy and I doing the
you guys
workout.
really need to check this man out. I first came across him a few years ago, and I read his book. I didn't bring it with me tonight because I forgot. Just so you know, I'm in the middle of moving right now, and I probably packed it up, but I'm still making it here to do these live shows and just a little all over the place. But in your book, it was like I kind of felt like I was going or like about to go some of the same things that you had already gone through. You
Right,
tied in the Matrix, you tied
right.
in superheroes, and I'm see you're representing now. You and if you don't, if you
Uh-huh.
all at home don't know how metaphysical the movie The Matrix is, I mean, it's so on point.
Yeah.
I mean, even Neo, Neo was called the One,
Hmm.
and his girlfriend being Trinity, the three. I
Hmm.
mean, it's so much beauty tied into this movie for you to look deep within and see
Hmm.
something, which is something that we all have to do. Look deep within to see the larger meaning, the deeper
Right,
message, you know. And
right.
so when I saw your book, I was like, this guy knows, this guy gets it. Then I had the opportunity to hear you in person. And even here at Unity, everyone's like, oh my God, Dr. Raymond Anderson, he was fantastic. And it's like, we need to get him here more often. So guess what, Unity? Here he is, right there, live for you right now. Um, I have to put this back in so I can hear. If you wonder why I'm doing this, because I have an echo and I hear myself twice. Um, in your book,
Uh-oh.
you mentioned God being anthropomorphic. Could you explain that to me?
So generally, our concept of God, you know, for most of the Abrahamic traditions and even still some in New Thought, we have this idea of God being, typically, God is some old white guy sitting on a cloud on a throne, judging folks and sending lightning bolts and stuff. Like generally, that's our concept of God. It's more like Zeus or Odin or something from one of the mythological stories around the world. So even when we get to Christianity and Islam and Judaism, there's still this idea of God somewhere out there that's separate from us, typically, like I said, judging us. If we're not doing very well, then condemning us, but keeping track of everything we do so that when judgment day comes, we get to stand before the throne and, you know, determine, do we get into heaven or are we cast into the eternal lake of fire and damnation for all eternity? So that's the anthropomorphic God, this idea that there is a person, a being that God is, that is separate from who and what we are.
Okay. As you articulated that so well, it reminded me of something important that I forgot,
Mm-hmm.
and that is to mention who you really are.
Oh.
As if I know, right? Okay. Just to give you all a brief bio, he is a licensed minister with the Centers for Spiritual Living, an ordained minister, a doctor of philosophy and metaphysics. He also has a background in art education, theater pedagogy, and deaf studies. So, there you go. Introducing Reverend Dr. Raymond Anderson again. Yay! Okay, pause. Um, question for you.
Answer maybe.
How do you what is your practice like? How do you center? What how do you center to get with God? I know you believe in God, maybe not the traditional way that most people believe, but how does that work for you?
Okay, that's like an hour right there in and of itself. So this idea, which I'm sure you know most of the listeners have probably heard, is that We are spiritual beings having a human experience. And, Pierre was right on with that. But there's this next level of, okay, so if we understand and we acknowledge that God is all there is, like in unity, God the good, omnipotent, it's all there is. So if God is all there is, then it is showing up right here as me, as you, as every listener, as the equipment that we're using, the skates you're on, like it's everything. So we're spiritual beings having a spiritual experience that we call human, but ultimately everything is spiritual. So recognizing that innate divinity, anything that I do when I anchor my mind and get into alignment, a state of flow with whatever I'm doing, it becomes an anchoring practice. It becomes a grounding practice. It becomes my meditation. So if I'm drawing, then my drawing can become my centering practice. If I'm signing a song or interpreting or performing in sign, then if I'm doing it from this awareness of this is spirit, this is a spiritual practice, this is me signing, but ultimately it's me being involved in this spiritual practice. Um, you know, so anything that I do, whether it's cooking, riding my bike, if I'm doing it from the awareness that this is a spiritual practice because I am a spiritual being, because I'm holy and sacred and divine doing this, then it gives me the opportunity to get into the flow, get grounded, get into a state of coherence, get into a state of being in alignment with the one. Therefore, anything at any moment, even anchoring in the breath right now, can be this is a moment that I know that God is present, not separate or outside of me, but right here in this breath, breathing itself. Boom, and I'm grounded. So it can be anything and everything.
Being grounded, that seems to be the key. And also, when I have conversations with people, I find two people that believe in God. I see that they communicate with God in one of two ways. They either pray or they go into meditation or combination of the two. Um, Prayer to me, I remember some words that were in your book about not asking God of things. And I also have come to learn through Unity of Fredericksburg that their prayer is more of an affirmation prayer, as if why do you need to ask God for anything when God already has things planned out? Maybe it's just more of you getting in alignment with the will of God there is instead of beseeching. Was that the word that you used?
Uh-huh. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So a couple of things. So one, even so in my former experience before becoming New Thought, so I was Christian, fundamental Christian. My first ordination was as a Christian minister. So even in the Bible, it says, Yeshua says, to pray as though you already have what you are praying about. So if you're praying as though you already have it, are it, being it, doing it, having it, then what is your prayer actually? Your prayer is thank you. So however you are verbalizing that, however you are anchoring into the feeling, if you already have what you're stating, then what's the prayer? So yeah, there should be no beseeching, no begging, no bartering, no bargaining, like none of that. Unity minister Linda Martello Whitsett has a book about not praying to God, but praying from the consciousness of God. Because that's the ultimate thing is if I know that what it is I am, Ernest Holmes says two things. One, God in me, as me, is me. And the only God we are ever going to really know personally is the one that we embody. So recognizing there is only one mind, that mind is God. So when this mind, my mind, is thinking, it's thinking within the one mind. So God's thoughts are my thoughts. My thoughts are God's thoughts. There's only that one mind. So when I'm praying from that level of consciousness. I am not simply stating, so dear God, please, I will be such a good boy if you give me, I'll give up chocolate if you help me get that car. It's saying that I understand there is a consciousness and I am declaring the truth that I know about whatever it is I'm praying, health, well-being, prosperity, etc. I'm praying from what I know.
When you said the words new thought, it took me back to the first time that I actually got real deeper answers inside me when it came to my search for understanding God, because I grew up as a Christian
Mm-hmm.
in the Baptist church and understanding things, and it there was just something that was just missing, for
Right.
lack of a better word. And it wasn't until, I don't want to say advanced, but until I went, I'll just put it this way. I just think, like in everything in life, like when I'm teaching my son math,
Mm-hmm.
math gets more evolved.
Mm-hmm.
1 plus 1 becomes what's x plus y equals z.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes more advanced. So my understanding of God had to get more advanced too,
Right.
in order to answer some of those deeper, mm, not so understood questions. And when I did, I came upon a path of new thought.
Right.
Could you explain what new thought is? And now I do know you come from the Ernest Holmes background. You speak of my Reverend Michael Beckwith. Can you talk a little bit about that, just to educate some of those that may be listening that may not understand new thought as opposed
Okay.
to the New Testament?
Yes, because they are rather different. Yeah, I got you. Okay. So basically, New Thought is a fundamentally American spiritual construct that came together from a variety of founding forefathers and foremothers who, if you trace back, you find such people as Phineas Parkhurst Quimby, you find Mary Baker Edie, you find Emma Curtis Hopkins, and we'll start with her. Emma Curtis Hopkins takes this mind healing method that she had learned, that she was practicing, that she was teaching, and from her, many other people came to her, such as the Fillmores, Charles and Myrtle, such as Ernest Holmes, such as the Brooks sisters for divine science, etc. Which is why Emma Curtis Hopkins is referred to as the teacher's teacher or teacher of teachers. Now, the gist of New Thought is think of taking the best parts of spiritual practices, the cream of the crop in terms of consciousness from transcendentalism, from what was going on in the United States, from things such as Buddhism, Hinduism, etc., and you bring it together and you say, okay, what's the common thread? Where are the commonalities? Okay, based on this, what does this? Oh, so if we extrapolate from this, and what basically came out of that was this concept of there is only consciousness. There is only that which, whatever you call it, God, the force, source, the universe, whatever you're calling it, but that's all there is. And within that, that's why it said, Voltaire, if I'm not mistaken, said, God is a circle whose circumference is nowhere, but whose center is everywhere, because it's all there is. So, New Thought is a philosophy, a teaching, a spiritual path, a spiritual practice about anchoring in and recognizing our innate divine magnificence. And how do we now change our own lives by thought, by feeling, by word, by deed, by action? How do we shift that in our own lives? So it's practical. It's a spiritual practice that's applicable and practical versus spiritual practices and methods and religious ideologies that really don't ground people in how to become spiritually mature. It's better to keep you spiritually immature and dependent upon a minister, a
Church.
personality, a something. New Thought is about setting people free, liberating people spiritually, emotionally, intellectually, relationally, etc.
You said transcendentalism. You know, the first time that I ever heard that word, I was in 10th grade in English class. I had no idea what it really meant, other than Emerson came from it. There
Right.
were, I think Thoreau and maybe
Hmm.
Margaret Fuller. They were just these literal geniuses
Right.
almost.
Right.
And then I learned deeper within. I believe I'm not exactly sure, but I believe they were all kind of studying the Bhagavad Gita. That
Yes.
and for those who don't know, that's a Hindu religion, but they knew that there was something great, powerful, and mystical working behind the scenes of in spirituality, but behind the scenes of religion, so to speak,
Right.
just much deeper.
Right.
And this great beauty came out of it. And like I said, I didn't even make the connection till later on in life what it actually was. And it wasn't spoken about. Maybe it was just taboo, too
Hmm.
taboo at that time, but that's truly what it was.
Right.
They went deep into it and understood it in a much more powerful, applicable way to work
Right.
within and to help you, what I would say, through the daily grind, Um, again, just understanding religion the way that I grew up just did not fit me on the day to day, how you get through this or that in these moments.
Right.
It's just hard. It was just tough for me, but it made more sense this way, and then my world just opened up, bam,
Right.
and I totally embraced the whole idea of new thought. But with that being said, one of the conversations that you and I may have had a year ago was about new thought. And I remember you saying, if new thought was so great, then where are the millennials? So there has to be a little bit more. And I think new thought was a great way to to take a step above or beyond or outside of just normal religion. But then there's yet another step. And this is what I want to really talk about this evening because it ties into the purpose of my show, which is not only do we seek the Father, but I don't know of anybody that's been born on the planet with your father alone. Where's the mother?
I got
Mm.
you. So, so many things in there. So where do we begin? Okay, so one, a lot of New Thought folks like Michael Bernard Beckwith, Reverend Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith, will say it's New Thought, ancient wisdom, which it is, because it goes as far back as the Bhagavad Gita text you mentioned in Hinduism. It goes, it goes through all of that, through the Kemetic traditions in Egypt. Like it goes through all of that. So it's old stuff. The new thought stuff is okay, so how are we applying this currently today? And what I hear far more often than I would like to is I hear people within our tradition, whether it's CSL, Unity, anybody, they will say such and such. New thought is the best kept secret. Unity is the best kept secret. CSL is the best kept secret. Agape is the best kept secret. And my thing is, why is it a secret? And one of the things I notice is when people mention specifically CSL, because we talk about the Science of Mind and Spirit textbook written by Ernest Holmes. And so you mentioned, oh yeah, I practice science of mind. And a lot of people say, oh, is that like Scientology or is that Scientology? The reason people ask that question, no one ever asked, is Christianity, oh, is that Islam? No one asked that question. So when you say Zen, do you mean Judaism? No one asked that question because people know enough to know they're not the same. If I'm not mistaken, L. Ron Hubbard created Scientology something like 1952-ish, somewhere around there. Ernest Holmes and Science of Mind is 100 years plus. Like it's been a minute. We need more people out there in unity, in divine science, in just in new thought in general. We need people at the forefront to such a degree that when there is another African American person shot, Reverend Al Sharpton is there as a spokesperson for what Christianity means to him and how this shooting gets filtered through that paradigm of Christianity. CNN has spokespeople from Islam and, the Buddhist representative, and they have different people as the representative. So if CNN wants to say, so what do you think about this? Minister such and such? Do we have any New Thought representatives from any of these traditions who is the go-to person for CNN, NBC, ABC, Fox, Cartoon Network? I mean, for real, where is the representation? And I often find that there are a lot of us who shy away from that. We move away from, well, why? My observation is a lot of us in New Thought, we don't want to be judged. We don't like conflict. We don't want like any of the things that come with that. We don't want it. So we avoid it. So our churches and our centers don't attract millennials because we don't do spiritual activism. We'd rather pray racism away. We'd rather pray homophobia away rather than roll up our sleeves and get in the trenches and do the work necessary. Prayer is, yes, because in CSL, we say treat, meaning pray, and move your feet. You pray, and then you act upon the prayer you just said. So if you're going to, someone once said, I want to say it was Joe Dispenza, but I could be wrong with that, said, if you're going to pray for rain, then you need to have an umbrella. Your prayer changes the way you behave. Otherwise, it's just lip service. That's why I don't see a lot of millennials coming into New Thought, because they see us recycling the same old womp, 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 womp. And it's not new for them. They want something truly empowering, impactful, transparent, vulnerable. They want that.
That is what's needed, and it's given to us whether we want it or not. Isn't that strange?
Mm-hmm.
So, lost my thought here.
Can I give you an example?
Yes, please.
Okay, so an example. So, because you mentioned the tree, the leaves and branches stretching upward and the roots stretching down into the soil. So, as above, so below, right? We say this. We quote, the Kabbalion and stuff with as above, so below, as within, so without. We talk about think positive and racism will go away. Think positive and sexism will go away. Just think positive and the world will change. Gumdrops, rainbows, and daisies. Yay. Just think positive. Avoid the darkness. Just go into the light, Carol Ann. Go into the light. Avoid the darkness. Just be in the light. But you have the yin yang that you mentioned. And the yin yang has both light and darkness. We don't have a problem with embracing it when it's light and darkness of yin yang, but we have a problem when it's light and darkness of the life that is an expression of yin and yang. Where in us are we trying to suppress the shadow rather than, if you have a battery has a positive charge and a negative charge, and you need both of those for the battery to have energy. Stop trying to avoid the negative, dive in and embrace and move through it. We say that we are metaphysicians, metaphysical physicians, and Jesus, Yeshua said, physician, heal thyself, right? So metaphysician, heal thyself, address thy consciousness, what you think, what you feel, what you say, how you show up. And part of that means getting to the nuts and bolts of what it means to be human, being spiritual, but expressing as this thing called human with all of the stuff that comes with it. I keep telling people, if you get a group of cardiac physicians, surgeons, and they get together at a convention, you better believe they're going to be looking at photos of diseased hearts. They're going to be looking at scans of hearts that aren't pumping well. They're going to be looking at all the ways the human heart can go awry. Why? So that they can then go back into their ERs and ORs, their offices, with this new expanded awareness, and now help their patients and clients have healthy hearts. We don't like looking at the ugliness. We don't like looking at the darkness. We don't like looking at the negative, because we say, but if you think negative, it'll attract more negative. If you look at the darkness looks back at you and it pulls you in. Don't look at it. Just focus on the light. But every artist knows that if you are sculpting, if you are painting, it's an interplay with light and shadow to create depth. Our lives are a demonstration of shallowness because we won't embrace light and dark to have depth. Where's depth? Here's the tree. Depth is open from the top and open from the bottom. We need both of those in order to truly evolve into our next level of consciousness and being on this planet.
Truth. With that being said, when I first started going real deep into the wisdom of Jesus, I had to go beyond how the Bible is presented in its current form, and I looked at other books that were put in, like I believe it was in 1945 when they unearthed some of the old gospels, like the Gospel of Thomas, maybe
Mhm.
John, just a few of those. And when you, for yourself, without anybody else telling you what they say, read them, you see a very mystical. It was like he spoke differently, and he even said that. He even said, "I speak this differently to you than the others," because it was so deep that maybe the average person wouldn't have gotten it. But that was
Mhm.
2,000 years ago. I can see the average person not getting it 2,000 years ago. But here we are now where you can understand these deep truths. And I always feel like those truths, you get a little bit, but if it's not okay, there's this joke that's not a joke, but it kind of is a joke,
Okay.
but it's definitely something to make you think. So check this out. There's the devil walking along with this guy next to him, and they're walking down this road. And approaching them is another guy. And the devil and the guy that's walking together, and they see the guy bend over and pick up something, and the devil says, "Hmm." And the guy next to the devil says, "What was that?" He just picked up something. And the guy says, "So why was that good for you?" He said, "Because he picked up a piece of truth." "So why is that good?" And the devil says, "Because I'm going to help him organize his thoughts."
Mhm.
So with these truths that we get, it's like we get a little bit of here and there, and then people organizing them for their own particular reason,
Mhm.
probably power, greed, or whatever. But we're at this place where you have to take a little bit of responsibility and make it work within yourself. And
Right.
like you say, I've just come to this place now where it is totally about embracing that darkness, because really this cannot work without this. Ugh,
Yeah. There's
they have
no
to be
balance.
stuck together and to
Right.
get motion coming from them. This is the yin and yang. This isn't just a karate emblem, as
Right.
one of my friends said. This isn't just the sign that's for the military insignia.
Right.
It isn't that. It is the marriage of the two, embracing both the light and the dark. Because when you do, you have these two forces that are just working, and this friction that they even bring just takes you to another level. It helps you
Mhm.
level up and get to the next part, the next place. You don't like the pain, you don't like the darkness, but without the dark, there would never, ever be a need for light.
Right. I mean, we understand that when it comes to we have daytime and nighttime, like we understand that in nature there's the balance between. We understand it when it's that, but we won't apply it to. So how, like, how does that I don't understand. Years ago when I used to watch the David Carradine Kung Fu television series, one of the masters told young Kwai Chang, perceive the way of nature and no force of man can harm you.
Mm,
Perceive the way of nature. And that symbol, the Taoist symbol of yin and yang, is the symbol of balance, how to be in harmony, how that even within the darkness there is light, and within the light there is darkness. They are inseparable. We are inseparable. There is no separating us from God. There is no separating us from life. There is no separation. There's only the one. And in that one, there is the ebb and the flow. There's the rise of the wave and the fall of the wave and the recession. And it's part of the flow. So we have the exact same thing in our lives. We have get up in the morning and go. And then later the energy wanes and we know now it's time to go to sleep. And then the cycle happens again. But when it comes to things in life that are painful, shame, guilt, loneliness, death, disease, political strife, war and rumors of war, and all this other stuff, then it's like, boop, think positive. That's all I need to do. Think positive. Yes, yes. Let's just pray about what's good, and there's only good, and God is good, and amen. That's it. That's not balance. That's immature spirituality.
Mm.
And think about it, like you mentioned the math, right? Many times what we're doing is we're using the calculator. Just do the math on the calculator, right? But take the calculator away. Do I know how to add without it? No. Do I know how to subtract without it? No. I need this. So then I'm not mathematically mature in and of myself. I need this. I need someone to give me an instrument to help me understand, but I'm only understanding at the level that it is offering. Now, if I backtrack and say, let me leave that alone for a minute. Let me do like what you said. Let me study other texts. Let me read the Bible from a different level of consciousness now and see the devil not as the enemy or the foe, but as an ally per se, and understand what it means to get truth. Now I'm more spiritually mature. I'm more mathematically mature. Now, when I get the calculator, I'm able to do trigonometry on the calculator because I understand math at a completely different level. It's time for us to upgrade our level of spirituality and let go of the immature stuff and start upgrading, revamping our consciousness from a completely different level if we want to live in balance.
I like that. If you want to live in balance and if you want to take it higher and you want to take it deeper all at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
it reminds me of the word. It's not it's not the word of the day for today, but it was for Saturday, and I held on to it because it was good, and we needed to be bold today to get through it. So I would like to read just for our viewers out there, Unity word of the day,
Cool.
which was Saturday, and it was bold because you're gonna have to be bold to be here and understand all of this.
That you
I
have to.
boldly explore new paths as I walk in the footsteps of those who have lived before me, explorers, innovators, and servicemen and servicewomen, to name a few. I give thanks for their daring and bravery. Their courage to take risk and blaze new trails inspires me to rise to the challenges that will push my boundaries and expand my world. If I find myself hesitating, I acknowledge my fear as I resolve to push past it. The strength and power of God expresses powerfully as me. I am bold in my exploration of every aspect of my being. I ask tough questions and listen to the wisdom of my heart. I draw upon my power of zeal to express myself and confidently walk new paths. In each new circumstance, I reach within to call forth even more. I have more to give and more to live. I live boldly. Be strong and bold. I will be with you. Deuteronomy 31:23. Rev,
Yep.
is there a word that you use or are using or that you bring to the forefront of your mind to help you through your day?
Yes. So one would be audacity or audacious, and the other would be unapologetic.
Mm.
Like those are my two things. I am going to be unapologetic in how I show up as a spiritual being, as how I show up as the I am. I'm not going to apologize for that because there are many people who would want us to. There are people like, how many times have we heard a family member, a grandparent, or somebody say, boy, turn that. Quit trying. You're proud. Pride cometh before the fall. Boy, turn that down. Quit being so arrogant. And so we learn how to dumb ourselves down. We learn how to shine less brightly. Yeah, no, that those I lived through that and almost died as a result of it. I am unapologetic about being what I am. I am going to live in an audacious manner, which means, like you said, boldly. I am, to quote Star Trek, I am going to boldly go where no version of me has ever gone before. I'm going to seek out new ways for this life to be expansive and new life forms for this and new places to explore and adventure. Like that's what I'm here to do. There's nothing about God that is about playing small. There's nothing about spirit or the universe that you just play small, just be small. Everything about it is expand, create, ever expanding, ever expansive, ever creating more and more and more. Why else do we have like 39 different kinds of apples? And like you mentioned, why do we have 77 different types of cars? Because humans made in the image and likeness, even if you go with back to that version of Christianity, one of the people watching, Maya, asked, well, does this negate Christianity? No, it doesn't. If someone is Christian and New Thought, they go together. It just means you go together in a different manner. There's a different marriage. It means you understand what's in the Bible from a different paradigm, a different level of consciousness. So even if I say I am made in the image and likeness of God, then that means everything that God is, if I'm made in that image and likeness, then I have to have it too. In the same way that my mother and father, I share their DNA, I am made in the image and likeness of their DNA, but I'm not made. So if God is love, I'm not, because the Bible says, because some minister translated it, because Emperor Constantine said, yeah, no, scratch that out. We got to make people subservient. Jesus said, look, check this out. I did these miracles, and so can you, and even greater. Yeah, it's time to be unapologetic about doing greater. It's time to have the audacity to step forward and let the Christ presence do even greater that Yeshua, Jesus said we can do. If we're going to say Jesus said it, what would Jesus do? Jesus would do what Jesus did, and he told you, you can do even greater. Well, then maybe you need to get up, roll up your sleeves, put on your slippers, and get out and do what he said you can do. So yeah, unapologetic and have the audacity to be and do and have. Boom, period.
All right, I have a question.
Oh,
Do you think if Jesus was here that he'd be a Christian?
I don't even know if I should even answer that.
Don't. All right, I'm just saying that as a joke because I
Yeah, I
was
know.
tying off of what she was saying. Because I truly believe that Christianity is a lot deeper, and it is that marriage of bringing them together. Christianity was created after Jesus showed a way of being and living on this earth. And if you could see that way that Jesus lived, not just through the lens of a church, not just even through the 10 commandments. When it came down to it, they asked Jesus, they said, what is the greatest commandment? And he said, and this is how I like to end my show, but it's just perfect to fit in now. The the first part he ever said was seek God, seek within God. But when they asked him that, he said, love God with your heart, your mind, your soul, your body, your everything. And the second commandment was just as important as that. Love your neighbor as yourself. Above these two hang all the law, all the prophet. I mean, you got to just look at it deeper
Mhm.
than what anybody else is telling you, and it's right there. I mean, you don't need to understand that all the 10 commandments. If you understand those to its depth, if you understand those two commandments to the depth of it, you get it, the message and the power that Jesus was, the way that he showed us how to be. So
But
sorry for that little
no,
joke.
that's fine. But because therein lies part of the problem. Therein lies one of the reasons why people bypass those very two commandments. Because if we actually took those to heart, because see, it's easier for people to 10 commandments: honor thy father and thy mother, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not covet thy neighbors. Like it's easier to do that because it's easy to push the responsibility off. Love thy God with all thy everything, and love your neighbor as yourself. Well, that means I have to love myself. That means I have to be willing to let go of all the shame, the concept of sin, the I'm not worthy, the I'm just a sinner going to hell if not for the grace of God. Like I have to let go of that and really love myself. And it's not just love the way we syrupy like to love. It's agape. It's love without conditions. I love myself even when I make a mistake. I love myself even when I just told the bill collector on the phone a lie, that because I really do have the money, but I lied. I love myself amid all of that. And now, who's my neighbor? My neighbor is everybody. It's not just the people who live on the front and back and the sides of me. My neighbor is anybody. My neighbor is the white supremacist who shot another black person. They're my neighbor too. How do I make my spiritual practice? It's not condoning what they did, but it's saying I understand that that which God is all there is, and therefore God must be showing up in them. They don't know it, So, how can I shift my consciousness to be able to say, I love them as a being. And because I love them, I hold them accountable. Because I love them, that's why we are the way we are with our children. We tell them don't stick a fork into the socket because we love them. Right? We that's why we train up a child the way that they shall go. Well, that white supremacist is immature in their philosophy. Train them up too, but I can't do it if I don't love myself. If I'm not practicing those two commandments, I can't do it. And it calls a completely different level of accountability in me to really love myself. Because once you love yourself, it changes everything else in your life.
Hmm. I could talk to you all night, but we're running out of time. And before we have to end this, I do want to take a few questions or comments. But before I get to those, I would ask you for just a general, um, what can we take away from this? How do we go forth with this information that we've heard tonight? How do we show up in the world tomorrow?
Well, that's a good question. Good, really good question. So, how do you show up in the world tomorrow? How do you want to show up? Like, really get self aware to say, who am I? Like, what do I believe? What do I believe in? Do I believe in love? Do I believe in namaste? The divine that is in me and within sees and recognizes it in you and it bows to its own beauty and grandeur. Like, do I believe in that? Or is it just cute? So I do it. Is it cute to be like Om Shanti, yeah, yeah, yeah? It's cute, and oh, yoga. Is that I believe it, or do I believe it to the point where I know it?
Mm.
Like, ask ourselves, as a person who says that I know what I know, who believes what I believe, who wants to believe or know on a deeper level, what does it require me to do? What kind of conversations does it require me to have? What
Mhm.
kind of actions does it call me to engage in? And simply sit back and ask, am I in alignment in my thoughts? Keeping in mind, the Bible says, as a man thinketh in their heart, as a man thinketh in his heart. So aligning what I'm thinking with what I'm feeling, they have to be in alignment. So what am I thinking? Am I thinking possibility, creativity? Am I speaking possibility and creativity? Or am I speaking about all the things, the woe and me, but never about the solution? I'm always talking about, two take away five, two take away. Or am I somewhere in there saying, two take away five? Oh, it's -3. Oh, somewhere in there, the solution has to show up. Am I in alignment with what I'm feeling? Because if I'm there in thought, word, feeling, then how I am behaving and what I am doing should change. So look at all four of those areas starting tomorrow and ask, am I in alignment? Am I demonstrating in my life what I want to demonstrate? If I am, keep going. If I'm not and I need tweaking, then find a chaplain, a practitioner, a minister, a life coach, a someone to help we do it with our car. Car gets out of tune, we go get someone, get a tune up. We do it with the air conditioner, we do it with the washing machine. If it falls out of whack, we do it with the piano, we get a tuner. Find someone to assist in getting things back in harmony and then move forward from there. But starting tomorrow, self-assessment, do the inventory.
Mm, 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 mm. Oh, I could comment there and more, but I'm not. I'm gonna have to say that say my own personal comments for another time. Right now, can we? Is there any comments up there that we can address now? I know that some people have even text me. I'm watching my phone blow up. I see text coming in right now. Is there something that we can address there? Do you see something? And I cannot switch on my phone. Yeah, we're gonna have to figure out another way to do this. So I will go to my comment, my own. I'm reminded as you said those words, a couple things came to my mind. I just now got back on Facebook for the first time since November 13th, 2016.
Oh, okay.
And if you look at my comments and the things that I said back then, it was just like, I would just say this. Today, I choose to only show up. Is what I'm doing, saying, thinking, or being, is it helping? Is it evolving? Is it doing some creation, or is it stifling it? And that for me is the checker, if I'm doing wrong or right. Am I part of it? Am I part of the pollution, or am I part of the solution? And that is why I'm here tonight, trying to be a way of solution, because the heart matters.
Hmm.
How you feel,
Yep.
how the heart resonates matters so much. And if it's pain that you're feeling and you don't see a way out through it, it's pain that's vibrating, it's pain that's emitting, that's resonating, and you're on that space. And I do believe there's a place for every single bit of it. And all the pain that I have had has helped me level up.
Yep.
And that is what I can recommend to other people, to embrace it, to fully look into the yin, the yang, the tree roots, the branches that go up, the roots that go down, the father and the mother. Yes, we are here as physical beings, as we know, for this very short time of 100 years, having a very spiritual experience. And so I just believe it's time to enjoy that, to be in the joy of that experience, and guard how your heart vibrates. That's something that I want to talk about on another show, about how the heart, that is the power source. You ask people, you say, "Who are you?" And they think in their heads, but you say, "Point to yourself," and you touch here.
Right.
Not even like your heart, but you touch to this center part of you.
Right.
This is where you are. And that is where the feelings come up, the emotion come up. You got to be aware of that.
Of
So
all of it.
with that being said, since we're out of time, I was wondering if you could maybe demonstrate some of your art to the deaf community and express some words in the beautiful way that you can before we sign off this evening.
So let's do so in Unity, one of the songs that is often sung is "Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me." So I'm going to need all of you to sing because I'm not singing. So here we go.
Peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let Oh gosh, I'm losing words. The peace
The peace that was meant to
into
be.
me. Yes.
Right, and I tend to sometimes change it and say, so let there be peace on earth, right, and let it begin with me. And then you go through the song that says, because it began with me. So not let there be peace, but yes, there is peace on earth because it began with me. Yes, there is peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. And it started right here in our mind, in our heart, in our words, and our actions. Amen.
Thank you so much, Reverend Dr. Raymond Anderson.
My pleasure. Namaste.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. Namaste, my friend. All right, all. Thank you for hanging with us for this hour. Um, you should learn more about Reverend Dr. Raymond Anderson. Just go to raymondanderson.com. You will find out more about him. Check him out on Facebook. He's there live streaming all the time. You can hear him on Sundays. I'm sure he'll be here this Sunday at the Greater Baltimore Center of Spiritual Living. Did I cover everything that I want to say? I think I did. Yes. Again, thank you to all friends. Sorry I couldn't get to you. We will work out something later. I would like to continue this conversation somehow, maybe a Zoom afterwards. If I could get some help, maybe somebody out there can host a Zoom meeting after the show so we can continue this discussion. I would be more than thrilled if someone else could do it, because it takes a lot to pull this thing together here. But so inbox me, text me, give me some stuff. I will check again to see if there's anything anymore. Nope. Okay, y'all. I love you. Remember, seek God. Did we go away? Seek God deep within. Love it with all your heart. your mind, your soul, your body, and love your neighbor as yourself. Namaste.